Hello, we're going to talk about the difference between period and frequency today. And to really understand any type of uniform circular motion, you have to understand the difference between these two things. Because a lot of times you'll get a question or you'll be asked to do something where they start out with frequency, and the only thing that we can use in any of our circular equations is period. So with that, hopefully this won't take very long. The period is what we really care about when we're talking about uniform circulation. And the period is, as I say in class, it's that special amount of time. So it's abbreviated capital T as opposed to a lowercase t. So the time taken by an object to make one revolution. One revolution. So that is to go around exactly one time. Okay? And that's in contrast to the frequency, which is essentially the number of cycles per second, or the number of revolutions per second. We use cycles and revolutions kind of interchangeably when we talk about circular motion. So this is number of cycles per second. Now these two things are really related to each other. They're actually inverses of each other, and that's why you see in our equations T equals 1 over F, and F equals 1 over T. They're reciprocals. And this is where we get a little bit, it gets a little nebulous when you try and think about this. But let's say we have an object that goes around very, very slowly. So let's say it takes 5 seconds for an object to make a full circle. So 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. And at the end of those 5 seconds, we made one complete circle. So the period here, the time taken to make one revolution, the period would be 5 seconds. And if we were to calculate the number of cycles per second, that would actually be the inverse, because every second here, you're going 1/5 of the way around. So the frequency of that circle going around in 5 seconds would actually be 1 over 5 seconds, or a frequency of 0.2, and the unit for frequency is something called hertz. So every second you are moving basically 20% of the way around. That's kind of what it boils down to. And as I say in class, we talk about period when we deal with things that are taking longer than 1 second to go around. Frequency is something we talk about when we are dealing with something that takes less than 1 second to go around. So instead of saying, well, my period is a half a second, we would actually say the frequency is 2 hertz. So let's say now we've got something, and it's much easier to talk about it if you actually look at it. So let's say we have something that goes around in a circle very quickly. So forgive this. It's going very, very quickly. There might be 10 cycles in every second. Okay? Now, it's kind of foolish. We're going 1 Mississippi. I've gone around 10 times in that second. And it seems kind of foolish to say, well, my period was 10 times every second, which means each period took 0.1 seconds. It would be easier to say frequency is 1 over 0.1, which would actually equal 10 hertz. Okay? So again, frequency is just how many cycles, how many times per second something happens. And the period is the number of seconds it takes something to happen. And typically when we talk about things in physics, with uniform circular motion, if the period is less than 1 second, we actually will usually talk about it in the realm of frequency. And if it takes more than 1 second, we'll usually talk about it in the realm of period, which is the unit in seconds. Now, it's not to say I would never throw a curveball at you and say, well, somebody takes 8 seconds to go around in one circle, what's the frequency? that is, don't show this message again. That is something that we could ask you, and I do ask you. And you would have to take, well, if the period was 8 seconds, the frequency would be 1 over 8 seconds, and that would be 0.125 hertz. Okay? But the gist of this whole thing is that no matter what, we're always going to have to get into a period to do any calculations in uniform circular motion, because every equation that we deal with deals in seconds, never hertz. So the big trick for you is that you're going to have to be able to take a frequency and put it back into the period. So I hope this helped demystify a couple things. There you go.